Hi, my name is Vince and welcome to my YouTube channel, Vince Cooper Games. Today we're going to be going through the setup for the Bloody Lane game, my new game available on Amazon. So I've gone through a description of the battle sheet in a previous video. Let's go through the setup next. So the first thing to do is to place the Confederate counters. So this is the 6 Alabama. All I've done here is just glue the paper counter onto a wooden chip, and this allows me to pick up the counter and move it around fairly easily. So let's go ahead and place the Confederate regiment. So 6 Alabama goes here, 2nd North Carolina goes here, 14th North Carolina goes here, 4th North Carolina goes here, 30th North Carolina goes in this defensive position. And below each Confederate regiment, we place a mini-A ball token, value 4. So as the battle continues and the Confederates use up their ammunition, the mini-A ball value is going to drop from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 and then to 0. Once it reaches 0, that unit can no longer perform an attack until it has reloaded, until it's got more ammunition points. The other thing as well is the officer token. The officer token goes here. The Confederates start with 4 officers. That goes again from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 and then to 0. And the number of officers affects the number of the types and the number of actions that the Confederate player can take. We're also going to set up the Confederate artillery. So down here is Boyce's battery. So we're going to place 1 Confederate artillery counter in each box. The Confederate artillery starts off ready. So we're going to place an artillery ready counter next to each artillery counter. And each counter starts off with a battery strength of 2. So we'll place a token as well. So the battery strength drops from 2 to 1. When it's at 0, the artillery is destroyed and removed from the game. We're going to do something fairly similar with the Union artillery for Tompkins's battery. So up here to the north. Okay, and the Union artillery here also starts with a battery strength of 2. Okay, the Union artillery doesn't distinguish between being ready and reloading, so there are no more tokens to place there. Tidball's battery here cannot be targeted by Confederate artillery, so there are no counters. It's always going to make 3 attacks. Whereas the Union artillery, as it's destroyed, will go from being able to perform 1 to 2 to from 3 to 2 to 1 attacks per turn. Similarly with the Confederate artillery. The supply line right now is empty. There are 3 types of tokens: ammunition, reinforcements, and orders. So when the orders token is resolved, it's going to go there. When it's used, you remove it. They're going to travel along from S1 to box S2 to box S3. We'll cover the supply line rules in another video. Each counter has a cohesion value. So these are veteran regiments. So they start off the game with a cohesion value of 5. As it drops from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, you would attach a cohesion counter. So this would have a cohesion value of 3. At the beginning of the game, they're all at their maximum value. So to save a little bit of space, we assume that a counter that doesn't have a cohesion token attached is at its maximum cohesion. When the cohesion drops down to 0, the counter is shattered. And the game ends when a Union counter moves from any of these attack positions into a defensive position that is occupied by a Confederate counter that is shattered, and that will end the game. That assumes that Bloody Lane has been overrun. Right at the beginning of the game, there are no Union counters. Okay, Union counter deployment is covered a little bit later on, but just again, very briefly, it's going to be randomized from game to game. But for example, you might have the 1st Delaware here, the 5th Maryland here, and the 4th New York here. And then they would advance down the attack track. If they reach this point where there's a shattered Confederate counter, game ends. The deployment is randomized, so you could play the next game where the first wave starts the game like this. So it's going to vary from game to game. So that's how you set up the game. So we'll go on to more specific rules in follow-up videos. Thanks a lot for watching.